Been asked by a couple of guys if I'd tell this story, so I thought, what the heck, give it a try, see if it works. Has to do with travel. These days, when you go on an airplane, it's a trying experience. I mean, it's just getting on the plane just wears me out. Okay? Wasn't always like that. Back when, before the Oklahoma City bombing, it was, there weren't any security checkpoints, no metal detectors, no body scanners. People were all over the place at the airport. It was common to meet your party at the arrival gate even. The security checkpoints didn't exist, so people would just come in, walk right up to the gate. The passengers coming off the plane would meet the people right there. In fact, in some airports, especially the smaller ones, they had what we now call commuter flights, and they had stairways that went down, and the people would come right through the gate out to the airplane and meet the people on the ground. Wasn't unusual. So as a result, the airports were full of family, friends, people meeting the plane, and others. So back in the 70s, before all this occurred, I mean, it's certainly gotten worse since 9/11. And then COVID allowed them to ratchet it up even more. I for one don't know how one guy who had a couple of firecrackers in his shoes requires everybody in the continental United States to remove their shoes before they get on a plane. I don't know if they've ever stopped another shoe bomber or not. And taking off your belt, don't know about that. How does that help anything? What do they think? You're going to have like a belt bomb or something? I don't know. It don't make no sense to me, but then it don't have to. All I want to do is get on the plane. But I started traveling about 1976. Took a few trips, but they were nonstop flights between two small airports. But my first trip to a big airport was in Chicago O'Hare International Airport. And I mean, it's big. As I got off the plane, there were the usual families awaiting their loved ones right there at the gate. It was a jet, so it had a jetway that you'd walk up, and right there was a crowd. It had the usual families awaiting their loved ones, limo drivers holding up signs, had the names of the customers that they were looking for or the destination the customers were going to. And all manner of other people were in there. But what I noticed right off was there were people in white and saffron robes. I called them orange, but I was later told that they're called saffron. I had no idea who they were, but it became pretty apparent that they were beggars. They had leaflets that they would give you in exchange for your pocket change. As we left the gate and headed to collect our luggage, I asked my travel companion who they were. He told me that they were from a religious cult called Hare Krishna. He went on to explain that all cult members donated their material wealth and totally changed their lifestyle and gave their souls to the cult. As I was absorbing that, we came upon a couple of them. They followed us a ways, begging for a donation. We paid no attention, so pretty soon they peeled off and sought out someone else. It's a huge airport, as I said, but it was crowded. And there must have been several hundred of the faithful there. Walking along, we were constantly accosted. And I started to get angry. As much at the Hare Krishnas as I was at the airport for allowing this abuse of their passengers. But nonetheless, it was starting to get under my skin. Just about the time I decided to fire off a tirade at the next accosting Hare Krishna that approached, we walked into the baggage room. Okay. It must have contained 100 faithful followers. You see, people were trapped at the baggage carousels. They couldn't go anywhere until their luggage arrived. Now, this was especially true at O'Hare, where unattended bags were quickly scooped up and taken away by dishonest individuals and flat-out organized thieves. In fact, I once read in a newspaper article that 35% of the illegal guns on Chicago streets came from luggage thefts. I believe it was 35. It has been a few years. Looking around, I sized up the situation immediately and told my friend that I was going to explode on the next one that stopped us. He said, "Hey, don't do anything stupid. I'll handle this. Just follow my lead." I didn't know what he had planned. Didn't have long to wait, though, because a young man and a teenage-looking girl in their robes came up to us. Upon their arrival, he asked them, "What is this whole Hare Krishna thing about?" Then they told us that they were on a mission to save souls and collect donations to their cause. He smiled and said, "Brothers and sisters, saving souls is a noble mission. I'm with you 100%. Shall we pray?" Well, he then dropped to his knee and bowed his head. I followed suit. As we got down there, he said, "Dear Lord," and we both saw their Jesus sandals turn and hurry away. I grinned and I said, "That did it. He said, "Yeah, word will spread fast." Well, I have to tell you, indeed it did. While we waited for our luggage, we were not accosted again. As we walked over to the rental car counter, no one came up to us either. With our luggage in hand, we turned and headed toward the exit. As we're walking there, he said, "This should be fun." Now, there was a group of about a dozen of the robed faithful between us and the door. Everyone else was walking 100 yards around them to the next exit to avoid them. We didn't. We chose to walk straight at them. I watched as they diverted their gaze from us. As we neared them, you would have thought that Moses had parted the Saffron Sea. There was no way they were going to waste their time trying to convert heathen Christians or try to weasel tithe for their cult. We got outside, we laughed as we walked our car and went straight to a local tavern to toast our small victory. So, from my perspective, some things have gotten more inconvenient at the airport, for sure, and some things less. I, for one, am glad that I'm no longer have to make a choice between pure bliss for my soul in exchange for my money. So, now, if you pardon me, I've got to go let that cat out. Catch you later.